was our life back then?
To set the scene, the Cold War era was marked by the intense political and ideological conflict between the Eastern Bloc, led by the Soviet Union, and the Western Bloc, led by the United States. Czechoslovakia, as part of the Eastern Bloc, experienced significant government control over many aspects of daily life. Hello, my name is Laila, and in this podcast, I'm going to explore what family life was like during the Cold War in Czechoslovakia and the unique experience of being a Girl Scout at that time with my interviewee, Magdalena Oshancová. So, how long or when did you join Scout?
I joined Scout when I was about 11 years old, so it must have been 1984.
What was the scouting group like, and what activities did you take part in?
Well, in fact, we didn't know we were part of a scout organization or Girl Scout organization. We were under a different name, but we were engaging in activities that were Girl Scout like. We would take trips outside the city, we would play games, we would learn to do knots, and we were learning Morse
code.
Morse code.
Yeah.
We were just learning to tackle camping in nature and surviving maybe cold nights, or and we were also having fun playing guitar and enjoying each other's company.
And you said something about being under a false name. Could you tell us something more about that and maybe the Pioneers?
Okay, well, Pioneers was another organization that was imposed by the communist regime onto the young population. It was supposed to replace Girl Scouting or any other organizations that preceded and they were kind of working before the communist changes. We were under Svazarm, which was a different organization, and it was just a label, really. So I think there were quite a few organizations of pioneers that were functioning like Girl or Boy Scouts, and they were doing quite well. It was really just a name, and there were also bad pioneer organizations that didn't really do much. So it was a way to have the spirit of scouting to survive the communism.
To have it like more based around the regime, like were they?
Well, it was kind of hiding, so whatever name there was, it really was about how the activities were conducted, and the spirit of scout it's about trueness to self and others, and living in the right, and that's why I think the communists didn't like those organizations.
So I found it very interesting how Magdalena said how the communists didn't like Scout because it wanted its members and people to be true to themselves and true to their morals. And I think that in the quote behind, in the poster, in the image, there's a really interesting quote that says, "Scouting vylučuje totalitu, totalita vylučuje scouting." And this basically means scouting does not allow dictatorships or totalitarianism, and dictatorships don't allow scouting. And I just feel like that says a lot about scouting as an organization and communism and their morals and where they stood and how they felt towards scouting. So, how was your life as a Girl Scout affected by the regime?
Well, first of all, we couldn't claim that we were Girl Scouts. We barely knew it. We were just kind of led by the leaders, showing us the right path to love nature and be kind to each other. But we couldn't pledge allegiance, if you can say that, or make a promise, which is a big deal in scouting. You couldn't do that because it would be too obvious, right?
So I think it's also important to mark that back then the Girl Scouts were not allowed to show their identity by wearing their scarves or wearing their scout promises on their uniform, as can be seen as the Scout Lily. And this is a picture of a modern day scarf that Magdalena's same scouting group wears these days. And the picture of the girl wearing the old scarf was taken 3 years after the downfall of communism in 1992. So, during the Cold War, Czechoslovakia, firmly behind the Iron Curtain, imposed strict border laws, heavily fortifying its borders and severely restricting internal and external movement. Families lived under constant surveillance and fear, with the state's ideological integration creating general conflicts. Economic hardships, characterized by shortages of basic necessities, further strained daily family life. Cross-border separation of families was common. Those who managed to escape to the West often left children behind, unable to contact or reunite with them, causing immense emotional strain.
So when I was about 11 years old, my parents moved to Vienna because my dad got a job with the International Atomic Agency for United Nations in Vienna, and we as kids couldn't move with him. So we have stayed behind with my grandmother and my grandfather, who were taking care of us, and us mean myself and my 4 years older brother. We couldn't go to school in Austria because kids from Czechoslovakia were only allowed to go to either Russian school or be homeschooled according to the Czechoslovakian curriculum. I think the government just didn't want kids to be of that kind to be exposed to, let's say, history lessons or lessons about the politics and governments, etc. So we couldn't go, and my grandmother was an amazing woman. She took care of us. She moved in with us and kind of supplemented my parents' missing back then. So I felt a little bit lonely first when my parents left, but they came to visit often, about every couple of weeks. And they came for the weekend and we would see them, and then during the week my grandmother was there. I kind of felt proud of myself being able to endure this test of my maturity or strength, as well as very pampered by my grandmother, who was a very sweet and very caring person.
If not for communism, do you think you could still be with your parents or grow up with them?
I'm sure we would have been able to enter the public school in Vienna. So it was due to communism that we weren't able to stay with our parents.
To summarize and conclude, in your opinion, what was life like during the Cold War?
Well, life during the Cold War was our youth, and it was the only youth we had, so we were happy because we were the age we were. But when the changes came, we were very happy and welcoming them with open arms and huge excitement. I remember the atmosphere in the city during the Velvet Revolution, when everyone was super kind to each other and people all of a sudden came out of their shelves of frowning and bad mood. We were all hopeful and excited, and it was a great time, and it was a great beginning of a new life. And for us it came in a wonderful time. I was only 16 when the Velvet Revolution came, and I felt like this is a gift, and I still do feel like it was a gift because it gave us freedom